Welcome to the sound of the start of your weekend. It is, in one sense, the penultimate EFL weekend of the regular season. In another sense, it's the ultimate EFL weekend. It's a full slate. There's loads of big games, loads of jeopardy, loads of tension, loads of drama, loads of permutations, loads of glory, and, most importantly, tons of value. That's what we're seeking on the NTT20 betting show, sponsored by AK Bets. It's for over 18s only, as we are talking about betting and the bets that we're going to place this weekend. And betting comes with risks. Do brush up on the risks that come with gambling by heading to gambleaware.org. I'm Ali Maxwell. He is George, the DNB double-doubler, Elek.
DNB double-doubler. Thank you, yes.
Roll off the tongue.
2 14-1 draw no bet doubles in a row. And you mocked me the second time I did it. You were like, yeah, we all thought you were just going to give that up off the first one, mate. Well, look at that.
It is quite remarkable. Pompey 23-10 and Cambridge 15-4. DNB double. Injury time winner for Cambridge at Huddersfield after someone in the YouTube comments had said specifically no chance Cambridge get anything at Huddersfield. They're rubbish.
It's funny you say that about the comment on Cambridge. I don't know if it's because I'm living a relegation battle at the moment, but it does feel like the whole fans just saying what's going to happen and thinking that results are obvious to project and to predict is more rife this year than ever. Like I'm seeing everywhere like, yeah, well, Luton have already beaten Coventry, haven't they? Or, Charlton have already beaten Wrexham. So that's, as if these things are kind of written in the stars and it's already going to happen. It has a funny way of not happening, albeit my Nap and Next Best are definitely going to win, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, the best part of the betting show this season has been our combo selections, which is nice, actually, better together and all that. We had our third unders quad winner of the last 4 weeks. This one at 7-1. Reading and Lincoln, Wrexham, Bristol Rovers, Shrewsbury, Wigan, Cheltenham, Gills, all went under 2.5 goals. The week we didn't win, we got 3 out of 4. So you've got all of yours right 4 weeks in a row. So we're 15 from 16 over the last 4 weeks. Feeling good. Two winners at 7-1 and one at 9-2. AK Bets building all of these and putting them on the special section of their site to make them easy for you guys to back if you would like to do so. It was a poor week for me personally. Lost all my picks. And watching the highlights of Good Friday's football was pretty bad for my blood pressure. Shout out Tom McIntyre for a brilliantly dumb handball for Charlton to give Northampton a penalty, which they scored. Charlton winning, but not to nil. And Arthur Reed for missing a late penalty that meant it stayed Colchester 0, Crewe 0, rather than a Collier win. Let's go this week. Nap, best bet of the weekend. What is it?
Crawley Town to beat Northampton Town at 19-20. This is a game between two sides at the bottom end of League One, and there's definitely quite a lot of this factored into the price. I'm just not sure it's gone far enough, where Northampton come into this having beaten Shrewsbury Town. So many towns at the bottom of League One. What's going on there? 4-1 in their last game, and that win for Cobblers means they're now safe, and they'll be playing in League One next season. Had they not won that game, they wouldn't be safe. And so that's a proper kind of job done result, and we will have to see how they get on off the back of it. My expectation is that they'll probably drop off a little bit. It's been a bit of a battle to make sure they get over the line. And Kevin Nolan, they've got a manager who I think has nothing really to prove in the last 2 games of the season. I don't think losing these next 2 games is going to mean that Cobblers fans aren't pretty impressed with what he's done so far since he's come in. And they go away to a Crawley side who, for us neutrals looking in from the outside, they look pretty much relegated, but they know that they have to basically win this game in order to give themselves any chance of staying up. Now, there's every chance they could win this game, and if Burton beat Cambridge, then they'll still, unless there's a ridiculous goal difference swing, which relatively, which basically won't happen, they could still be relegated. And with Burton's game in hand, it's still incredibly likely that they'll be able to get out of it. But they will believe that they can. They will believe that they have to do whatever they can in order to put the pressure on Burton and Bristol Rovers and hope for a slip up elsewhere. They were impressive in their 3-1 win last time out against Exeter. Again, a home game against a side of a pretty similar quality to Northampton, maybe a bit better. They raced into a 3-goal lead and saw it out relatively well. They were the better side in that first half. Under Scott Lindsay, we've seen on a few different occasions them being very good from an attacking perspective, and I see no reason why this should be different. They were, I think, 2.3 against Exeter on Easter Monday. A bit shorter here, which is understandable given the game state. But again, I think they could be plenty shorter still. This is still a game for one team who are scrapping for their lives against another who have nothing really to show up and to play for. There was a bit of even money this morning. It seems to have gone now, but AK Bet still sticking their neck out at 19 to 20, and that's good enough for me to put up as my best bet of the Saturday.
Yeah, I'm backing Chesterfield -1 at home to Morecambe in League Two, 5 to 4. The price with AK Bets. This is Chesterfield still very much gunning for the playoffs. It's an outside chance. They're 3 points off it, and there's two teams between them and the playoffs in Collier and Salford. But they've got games against Morecambe and Accrington Stanley that they are heavily favoured to win. And I think 6 points seems absolutely on the cards for Chesterfield. And that really would put the pressure on Grimsby, as well as Colchester and Salford. They're the fourth highest scorers at home in League Two this season. And Paul Cook sets them up to attack relentlessly. So in terms of covering a handicap, you obviously want it to be a team that you can trust to score a lot of goals and keep going when they go ahead. And I definitely do trust Chesterfield to take that approach here. There's no particular reason for them to try and defend a 1-goal lead and try and squeeze it out. They scored 3 against Bradford last time out in a 3-3 draw. They scored 3 against Fleetwood a couple of weeks ago, a 0-0 at Wimbledon in between that. But they have every reason just to keep going and make sure they head into final day in with a chance and putting pressure on those teams around them. They've got the best goal difference already by a mile out of these two teams. And this is plenty about Morecambe as well in their situation. Their relegation was confirmed on Easter Monday. Derek Adams apologising to the fans and just saying, look, we gave it absolutely everything. The budgets that we had, the embargoes that we've been placed under over the last few windows meant that we couldn't build a team to... Well, I was going to say to compete. They have competed this season, but they haven't been able to win games consistently enough and edge-tight games. They haven't had the quality on the pitch. He said they had 11 players missing for Easter Monday, so it's a bare-bones squad that was cobbled together without much of a budget and is already relegated, so is not striving for anything anymore. In 11 away games against top half teams this season, they've only scored 1 goal, Morecambe, and they've lost every single game. Against Salford on Monday, 30 shots Salford had, 13 on targets in their 3-1 win. So I think Chesterfield can rack up pretty similar numbers here. It's game over now for Morecambe, having worked so hard, and I just can't see them putting up much resistance. So, you know, with what Chesterfield can bring off the bench, final home game of the season for them, unless they extend their season, knowing a win will send them into final day with a chance, I think they'll keep the foot on the pedal, and I could see them winning comfortably. The -1 handicap at 5 to 4 is what I'm going for. Chesterfield -1 at home to Morecambe. My best bet. Your next best bet is?
Yeah, my next best is in that game I mentioned at the top. People mentioned that Charlton have already beaten Wrexham. Well, I kind of hope that they do, because I'm putting them up to do so at 23 to 10. Wrexham are a side that I've kind of been keen to get against for a while. Their form obviously looks pretty good on paper, but they, from an attacking perspective, have really concerned me. They're not creating too much. That was shown in the draws against Bristol Rovers and Wigan, where they scored 1 goal in the 2 games. It kind of felt like that was coming. They were impressive in the 2-1 win at Blackpool last time out, you have to say. But I think Charlton are a very awkward opponent for them, because they're quite similar, where both teams are very, very good at stopping the opposition from creating good chances or big chances. And I think in Wrexham we've got a relatively toothless attacking force. Toothless is wrong, but one that isn't. You know, they don't create loads of chances within games. They have to be clinical in terms of taking the chances that come their way. But they come up against a side that probably behind Birmingham and maybe Wrexham themselves are the best at stopping the opposition from doing that. There's also Charlton's away form, which for much of the season wasn't very good. They completely righted that. The fact that last time out they won 4-0 away from home at Wickham, a Wickham side who generally don't give much away, will give them massive belief as to what they can do. And then there's kind of the amateur psychology coming into this as well, where, you know, Wrexham have to avoid defeat, Charlton have to win it, and I think that really plays into Charlton's hands. From an attacking perspective, they are playing well at the moment. You know, Tyrese Campbell's obviously having a very good second half of the season. Matty Godden is scoring goals. And to me, they just feel like a better team right now compared to Wrexham. And I have no doubt that after the Wickham result, they'll fancy their chances of going there and getting a result. I think the market overrates Wrexham generally. We're 44 games into the season now, and there's no denying that they've been one of the best teams in the league. And that's, you know, they're priced up as being one of the best teams in the league. But I'm not convinced in the last 5, 6, 7 games they necessarily have been. But they're still being priced up that way. So yeah, I think Charlton, given what's at stake and the state of play and the form that both teams come into this, I think that 23 to 10 with AK Bets is plenty worth getting stuck into in what is a huge game live on Sky, 5:30 kickoff on Saturday.
Lovely. Cannot wait for that game. It's going to be one of the most brutal matches to watch from a neutral's point of view all season, given the way that both teams approach the game. But I think probably 1 goal in it, and let's hope for your sake it's Matty Godden, Luke Berry, Tyrese Campbell, etc. I am in the Championship for my next best. It's Luton against Coventry. It's a massive game for both teams. Nadu to boot it. AK Bets are best price as we record 8 to 5, 2.6 the decimal, about Luton, the home side, to win at home to Coventry. I think that Matt Bloomfield deserves a lot of credit. Not 10 out of 10 job done, but he deserves credit specifically for, in and amongst a lot of noise and a lot of panic and the threat of a double relegation, which still looms large. I think you said the other day they're still odds on to be relegated. But just for the last month or two, he, through that noise, found a team that works and a way of playing that works consistently. It didn't just work for a half or for one game, as was often the case in the previous months, but a team that works, that is working consistently. And since the start of March, that's a 10-game period, only 3 teams have picked up more points in the Championship than Luton. So absolutely not relegation fodder in the last 10 games. And with 2 to play, if they maintain that form, they will likely get out of the relegation zone. If you take out the 4-0 defeat to Burnley, which is the one real aberration in this run, it's just 5 goals conceded in the other 9 games. So 9 total in their last 10 games. 0s and 1s in 9 of their last 10. Now remember how often in the first half of the season, the first 2/3 of the season, we talked about Luton's shambles of a defence, particularly under Rob Edwards. How many individual errors were being made in every single game. How often the kamikaze high line was being exploited and leading to them conceding 2-3 in every game, it seemed. But the defence has been sorted. Bloomfield's done that. He's found a group of players and a way of defending that has stopped them conceding. And shock horror, it's led to them picking up a lot more points. The attack still isn't great, to be honest. They've only scored more than 1 goal in a game in 2 of their last 10, including last time out beating Bristol City 3-1. I think it's great that they get to go back to the Kenny this weekend and try and keep that momentum, if you like. They beat a Bristol City side who are above Cov in the table and went there in better form than Coventry arrive. Because while I'm not going to for the purpose of trying to, explain my reasoning, I'm not going to say that Coventry are suddenly a terrible team. The magic dust of January and February has worn off, right? It's 3 wins in 8 games. Away from home, they lost at Derby, they lost at Sheffield United, they drew at Hull. Concerning away results as a trio, and then the performance and result at Argyle on Monday really does make it seem like they are not themselves at all on their travels. The amount of fans that basically predicted that performance and result as well against the worst team in the league this season does not bode very well for another away trip just 5 days later. They're not going to have much time and space to play into here, which I think is what they want on the big pitch at the Rico. At least they seem to make it look big when they play at home. Not going to be the case at Kenilworth Road and the way that Luton play. So don't think this suits them very well tactically. They've got an issue in goal. Brad Collins has replaced the out for the season Oliver Dovin and looked really wobbly, so he may get chucked out. They'll bring in Wilson if so. He hasn't played very much football for a while. And Bobby Thomas has missed the last 3 games. Hasn't even been in the squad, so will he come straight back in? Been nursing a calf injury. It would be quite a big risk, and it could cause an issue for him. If he doesn't play, I'd be worried for them aerially here. They're not the biggest team without Thomas. They're not the most aerially dominant without him. Kitching being the main aerial defender, and then you've got probably Sims and Wright coming back for set pieces. Latibaudiere is a bit short for compared to most centre backs, and you've got a Luton team coming with McGuinness, Morris, Mengi, Makoso for every set piece, others as well supporting and have had some joy on that front recently. So I think there could be chances for Luton in set pieces, but I just think the way that the 2 teams have been playing recently, I'd want to be with Luton at the price of 8 to 5. Absolutely. That's my next best. For anyone looking to sign up to AK Bets, use promo code NTT100. The link's in the show notes. If you click it, it'll take you to the AK Bets site with the code applied. The offer is, if your first bet is an accumulator on football with a minimum of 4 selections, AK Bets will boost the profit gained on that initial bet by 25% in the form of a free bet up to a value of £100. Further T's and C's are accessible on the website. Again, the link's in the description to take advantage of the sign-up offer. Goalscorer.
My goalscorer is in League 2, and it's Matthew Dennis of Carlisle United to score anytime 11 to 4. Starting with the game, Carlisle travelled to Cheltenham, and Carlisle travelled to Cheltenham another one of these teams where relegation is likely, but they'll win. Or sorry, their goal away at Accrington to equalise late on Monday gives them and their fans some hope that maybe they could survive. It's unlikely, but they know that going to Cheltenham on Saturday, they have to win in order to keep that hope alive, and they're therefore the 6-4 favourites to win this game. Even though if it was normal, if it was played say a couple of weeks ago, then the price would be very different. Their form is obviously good. Like, they're a much better team now than they've been at any other point in the season. And in Dennis, they've got a striker who he's a really interesting profile. Like, he's had a weird career. He was at Arsenal's academy. When he was released there, he got a move to Norwich. He then went on loan to Southend and scored quite a lot of goals. He moved to MK off the back of that. And was seemingly very highly rated early on, but it didn't really work out for him at MK, and 2 pretty poor spells at Sutton and Rochdale meant that he was released from his contract in January and turned up at a Carlisle side, bottom of the EFL and destined for the National League. But he's looked really lively. Like, he's looked good. He's scored 4 goals. His XG per shot is 0.15. If you look on FOTMob, his shot map is absolutely wonderful. It's exactly what you want from a striker. It is around the 6-yard box between both posts. He's a decent finisher, and when he plays games, he is their main goal threat. Like, he had 6 shots in the last game he played against Port Vale, scoring 1. He played 90 minutes against MK Dons and had 3 shots. 81 minutes against Bromley, 4 shots. 3 shots against AFC Wimbledon over 86 minutes. You know, off the bench,
himself lovely rest ahead of this one by getting himself sent off while sitting on the bench.
Well, that's it, mate.
At the end of the Good Friday game.
So he was suspended off the back of that, meaning he didn't play on Easter Monday. So I've got no doubt that he'll come back in, given the hectic nature of the schedule, unless Sparky wants to kind of punish him. But given what's at stake, I can't imagine he will. So this is a Carlisle side who have to win. Surely will score. Like, surely are going to be able to at least muster being able to breach Cheltenham, given what's at stake here. And if they do, then he's got to be the likeliest scorer in my mind in a team that really lacks goals. So yeah, Dennis said 11-4 is where I've landed for this week's goal scorer.
So we're staying in Cheltenham for my goal scorer. Yep. Why? That's not a bad thing.
Well, because I looked at the game, there's only one guy I could see scoring. 1-0. Done.
That's because you were focusing on Carlisle United. But what about Cheltenham? Cheltenham?
The beach.
What about Jordan Thomas, who loves the beach and seemingly finds it able to score from it? He's at 4-1. It's not the first time I've picked Jordan Thomas any time this season. We're going back in second last game week of the campaign. 4-1 to score for Cheltenham against Carlisle. As you have laid out for us, Carlisle have to go for it big time. And I think there's a chance the game could seriously spiral out of control in terms of goals here. It's quite a nice little balance between a team that are just going to go absolutely flat out. Everything hinges on them winning this game against a team that couldn't really care less, but will probably quite enjoy a game where there's not much jeopardy on it for them, but where the opposition are leaving a lot of gaps. I think Cheltenham will have chances, however many Carlisle score against them, and hopefully Matthew Dennis will. I'm sure Cheltenham will have opportunities to break on them, especially if Carlisle are chasing the game in the second half. Quite a fun stat that surprised me. Cheltenham have scored 2 or more in 19 of their league games this season. Only 3 teams have scored 2 or more than that, which wasn't necessarily the picture that I'd built of Cheltenham, but shows that they have been able to score multiple goals in lots of their games this season. And Thomas has 7 this season, but has really kicked on second half of the campaign as he's adapted to the level, having played a lot of non-league football previously. Anytime has landed in 5 of his last 18 games. He's had the 10th most shots in League 2 this calendar year 2025. He's just become a bigger goal threat. Scores goals at the back post, scores sort of Iron Robben-esque goals from the edge of the box as well. And I just feel like Carlisle's potential desperation here is going to provide opportunity for Cheltenham on the break. And frankly, if Carlisle are sitting deep trying to defend their lead, Thomas is the one that's going to be having speculative shots from 20-25 yards as well, and he's got a good left peg on him. So I think he's worth a go at 4-1. This is what we've all been waiting for. What is your long shot?
Yeah, it's much shorter this week, I'm afraid. I mean, there's no point trying to kind of force it through and find big prices, but it's just shy of 7-1, 6.92 to 1. Both in the Championship. First one is Watford away at Blackburn at 13-5. You know, Blackburn obviously back in some kind of form, albeit I would take that with a pinch of salt. They went away last weekend, or Monday I should say, to Sunderland and won that game 1-0. Tyree Sterling scoring one of their 2 shots in the game, and only shot on target. It was very smashy, very grabby. And this is a game between two sides with very little to play for. And, whilst and until two games ago, two sides that looked like they were playing very poorly with little to play for. Yes, Blackburn have won back-to-back games, and there is now a chance and a hope, I guess, within Blackburn fans that they're able to go on and win their last 2 games and hope that other teams above them all fold and they somehow make their way into the top 6. It's not going to happen. There's obviously a belief that it can do. I guess that means it's not a dead rubber entirely for their fans, but realistically, I can't really see it. As far as I'm concerned, this is a game between two sides who are going to finish mid-table or worse, basically, in Watford's case if they lose both of them. But this is mainly about Watford, who I think are playing okay. Their season's been over for a while. Their performances just are no way near as bad as the results. I would say that they are a classic variance team, where they started the season off picking up points and not playing very well. I don't think their performance level has changed that dramatically, but if you take the league table from Christmas Day onwards, they are bottom of the Championship. They've only picked up 19 points from Boxing Day, and that has a lot of their fans, I think, getting a bit concerned. But I don't think there's a great deal to worry about when you look at the underlying numbers, when you look at the performances themselves. They're often in games and just can't find a way to get over the line. And I just think that the disparity in the prices between these two sides is just way too big in my mind. And then Derby, who are 6-5, draw no bet odds against. This is a huge game at the bottom end of the Championship. With Derby, the outsiders, despite being the form team, despite being kind of the perfect draw no bet team, given how little they give away from a defensive standpoint. We know that John Eustace is so adept at creating these sides who don't give much away, up against a Hull team who are really struggling to get over the line. They'll be hugely buoyed by their result that they had on Monday, coming back from behind to win 2-1, thanks to Joe Gelhardt penalties. But I think it's papering over some cracks, really. That was their first win since going to Sheffield Wednesday and winning 1-0. Their home form all season has been patchy at best, and there's another kind of element here where I'm sure Hull fans will want them to win the games, but realistically, I think Ruben Sayers would absolutely bite your hand off for a draw now, because that would keep Derby 3 points, or is it 2 points behind them? And depending on what happens in the Luton game, 2 points. So keep Derby 2 points behind them going into final day, and would put them, that'd be certainly 1 point closer to safety, rather than the absolute disaster, which is them losing this game. And as such, it's the old, to Hull start the game 1-0 up. No, but there's an element of that in my mind. So, I think Derby look a huge price to win this one, and they are the second leg. So Watford at Blackburn, Derby at Hull, coming in at just under 7-1, the draw no bet double.
I love that. There's an element of that in my mind. I think you look at every game, and one of your first question is anyone starting this game 1-0 up?
I look at every game. Is it 0-0? Yeah. We haven't started yet. Doesn't mean it's not 0-0.
My long shot is exactly that. Second last week of the season, trying to atone for some sins and hoping to get a big price winner at 28-1. It's a BTTS and a win double. Bradford to beat Doncaster and both teams to score, and Peterborough to beat Bolton and both teams to score. The logic here with Bradford Donny is as follow. Doncaster had an amazing Easter weekend. They won both games, scored a ton of goals. Luke Molyneux proved why he's League Two's standout player. But they are missing players in their back line. I think that is going to cause them problems the longer that carries on. Jay McGrath might come back here. McCann said he might be available, but Wood and Alowu definitely out. So either Owen Bailey continues out of position at centre-back, where he's done well, but it's not his best position, and it means he gets taken out of midfield, or McGrath comes back in after a pretty long absence and has to deal with a pretty good attacking team in Bradford City. There's also Donny's record against top teams. At home, 1 win against top half teams, 5 draws, 4 defeats. They almost always score, but only 1 clean sheet in that time, which leads me to the BTTS angle. And can Luke Molyneux just do it in every single game? Can he beat 3 players and score or assist twice in every single game? Maybe. But I think against Ada Ramola, the Bradford left wing back, he'll have one of his toughest tests of the season so far on loan from Palace. He's looked really, really good, and he's absolutely rapid, tenacious defender, and pretty good going the other way as well. Big part of this is that Bradford have the Holy Trinity back. Poynton, Sarcevic and Patterson are all back fit and playing and starting. I think that does a lot for their attack. They have also a very bad record away from home against good teams. They've lost to all of the top 7 teams away. So I thought it was worth flagging that up if I'm going to point out Donny's bad home record against top teams. It's the same for Bradford on their travels. But I just felt like overall at the prizes, I wanted to side with Bradford in this massive game in League 2. I think it's a game where both will have chances. So Bradford and BTTS is the first leg. Peterborough and BTTS, it's a tale as old as time. Peterborough and BTTS, they're against Bolton. Bolton are gone when it comes to their playoff push. They're 6 points off it, but their goal difference is so bad they can't make the playoffs. And Schumacher's kind of, they've lost 7 of 9. 7 of 9 in the league after a good start under Schumacher, and he seems to be, he's approaching this quite smartly. I think he's making sure that they end the season with the fans broadly on his side rather than pinning blame on him. He's referencing what's come before. He's referencing the squad and how it's been put together, and I think he's still smelling of roses in the eyes of in the nostrils of the Bolton fans. But he played 2 kids in the game on Easter Monday, 2 academy kids, and I think he's quite clearly keen to show that he's not very happy with how things are going, but it's not his fault. Whereas Posh, pretty good performances over the last 2 months to lift themselves well away from any relegation fears. They had that one aberration against Northampton Town, but I don't think that's the exception, basically, rather than the rule. 2/3 of their games have gone BTTS this season, which is pretty standard for Posh. I'm pretty confident of the both teams to score part. I think the win part could go either way, but I want to lean towards Posh. It's their last home game of the season. Finished positively against a Bolton side that look absolutely cooked. Could be big time fun in the sun here, and I'm Peterborough and BTTS along with Bradford and BTTS. It's 28-1 available to back on the special section of the football part of the AK Bets website. Let's finish off with an unders quad. It's a bit of a sort of confusing one for me because the end of the season's normally fun in the sun, but then 3 out of 4 in terms of the unders quad.
Play in the grey.
Play in the grey. Let's play in the grey with an unders quad. Can we go 3 in a row? This one's out at 9-1. We're getting really cocky here. George, what are your 2 selections?
Yeah, I think Oxford, Sunderland under 2.5 at 4-6 is value. Sunderland's games have been really low scoring ever since Regis Lebris decided he was going to have a little mid-season, pre-season. He's kind of come out after the Blackburn game and said that he is going to take it a bit more seriously now, which is a bit annoying as an Oxford fan, but also kind of a weird thing to say. I don't really see why there should be a change of plan off the back of defeats that don't really matter, especially when they weren't that bad against Blackburn. But either way, they only conceded 2 shots in that game. They're still defensively pretty sound despite the poor results. And Oxford under Rowett, we know what we're going to get. They're going to stay in the game. They're going to either inch ahead and then look to sit on their lead, or they're going to be breached but still look pretty solid and not kind of throw caution to the wind. We've only seen a couple of games kind of spiral, the 3-2 game against Coventry being one of them, but for the most part, these games follow a pattern. We've seen against the top 3 teams in the Championship, Sunderland being the 4th, Oxford have played 3, won 1, drawn 1, lost 1, scored 1, conceded 1. I think we can see the way that Guy Rowett approaches games against some of the better teams in the league and does it successfully as well, especially with Oxford only needing a point out of this one in order to confirm safety. And the only issue here, I guess, maybe, is if Luton do lose to Coventry, then this game could get a bit silly, I guess, because then the pressure is off. But it's not really in Rowett's nature to do that, and I'd be surprised if it did spiral. So Oxford Sunderland the first one, and then back to my good friend Ryan Lowe. Wigan hosting Blackpool. Yeah, I mean, I know that Ryan Lowe, as we've spoken about a lot, has a reputation for being an attack-minded manager when he's got the tools to do so, but his Preston team went overly attacking. It wouldn't surprise me if next season we see Wigan, be modelled more on his Argyle side and his Bury side, but for now they're a team who are being built on a solid foundation. They're not giving much away at all up against a Steve Bruce side and a Blackpool team who have probably been a bit more excited than we expect Bruce teams to be, but even so, I see no reason why this should be a game of many goals. And it's interesting, we've had a couple of comments on YouTube suggesting that games can't be value for unders when they're kind of short. This is 1.75, 3-4, but when they're shorter than 2-1, and I really disagree. I think there are often times where you can go into a game knowing that the shot count is going to be 10, 12 or whatever, unless something strange happens, and if the bet gets beat, you can be pretty confident it's going to be because of clinical finishing, and the XG won't kind of get anywhere near the 2.5 mark. And this kind of feels like one of those to me at a bigger price where I don't really see a world where suddenly Wigan cut loose with 2 games to go and we see that their games look any different to how we're seeing them regularly. So, Wigan at home to Blackpool and Oxford at home to Sunderland are my 2 unders picks.
I'm adding Burton Cambridge in League One. This is a massive, massive game for both teams, both trying to secure survival. One of them much more likely to do so. Burton are just above the dotted line. They're on the same points as Bristol Rovers beneath them, but they've got a better goal difference and they've got a game in hand. So this isn't the last chance saloon for them, but it's an unbelievable opportunity for them to win another home game and give themselves a really good chance of securing an unlikely survival, a spot in League One next season. Whereas for Cambridge, it's much more simple. They will almost certainly go down, but the only way they won't is if they win both of their matches, starting here at Burton. But I see this playing out like it's a massive, massive, massive game, tense and low margin and low risk. I'd be really surprised if either Burton or Cambridge approach this game by being like, we're going to go flat out to try and win this by 2. I really think it's going to be as tight as a gnat's. And it might open. There is a scenario where Burton are ahead, and with a certain amount of time to go, Cambridge will go hell for leather. They have to. They'll have nothing to lose, and it might open up a bit. So that is clearly the risk. But I just see this one being tight for quite a long period. And Cambridge are doing all right at the moment. I wouldn't be surprised if they do keep it 0-0 or even score the first goal in this game, in which case unders I think would be more likely. Barrow, Bromley is the second one. I guess this is up at around the 4 to 5 mark because there's nothing really riding on the game, so it's the kind of fun in the sun goals narrative. But a bit like you with Wigan, I mean, Barrow are super low margin, whether they're having fun in the sun or not. They're pretty low margin team. They're pretty solid defensively. They don't create tons and tons of chances. Bromley have a bit of wackiness in them. They've recently had a 5-0 defeat and a 4-0 win, and then followed that up over Easter weekend with 2 1-0 wins. One with a penalty, one with an own goal, both incredibly, low margin, low goal expectancy. So Barrow Bromley is the fourth selection there. So at 9 to 1, packaged up on the AK Bets website under football and then specials, is Oxford Sunderland, Wigan Blackpool, Burton Cambridge, and Barrow Bromley 9 to 1 with AK Bets the unders quad. Please recap your penultimate weekend of the season selections.
Crawley is my nap at 20, my nap, I should say. At 19 to 20 at home to Northampton. Charlton at Wrexham, 23 to 10, my next best. Matthew Denis of Carlisle, 11 to 4 anytime. And the draw no bet double at Watford at Blackburn and Derby at Hull.
My nap is Chesterfield -1 at home to Morecambe in League 2. That's at 5 to 4. Luton at home to Coventry. My next best 8 to 5. All prices with AK Bets. My goal scorer Jordan Thomas of Cheltenham in their game against Carlisle at 4 to 1. Longshot is a BTTS and win double. The teams that I'm backing to win are Bradford against Donny and Peterborough against Bolton, and BTTS in those games as well. The unders fourfold is Oxford Sunderland, Wigan Blackpool, Burton Cambridge, and Barrow Bromley at 9 to 1. Cannot wait for next week, the last betting show of the regular season. We will have betting coverage of the playoffs as well. So stick with us. With much thanks to AK Bets for sponsoring the pod all season. Just a couple of weeks to go, and it all gets pretty exciting from here on in. So I hope you're enjoying it. We certainly are. Have a great weekend and go well.